Hey guys, catching up to you today with an interesting project. I wish I could tell you it went perfectly smooth, but it had its bumps on the roads today. So we got ourselves some gravel. I think there's 6 12-yard piles, and we're hauling them to the back where we've dropped a culvert into an area that's been flooding and giving us trouble to pass it to get to the back of some of our property. So we've got a 24-inch, I think it's 14 feet wide culvert here, and we need to get it in place. So we brought down the 26G John Deere excavator, rolled in here, kind of dug out the base of it a little bit on certain ends, and tried to get this culvert in place. Ended up buying 6 loads, about 4.25 each of gravel. Bought a $200 load of fill sand, and my goal is to regenerate this old road area. This property, before I owned it, had an access point here, and every spring the creek comes through the middle, and it really actually bogs here. It backs up and makes trouble. There's a hump here in the middle, and when the running spring water hits it, it goes off to the side and around it, and it backs up into my neighbor's place. And I don't think he really likes that. As you can see, there's kind of a mound here that I've already dug out right where this thing is. It's not like a beaver den, but it acts like it. It just backs up everything. So we took out the beaver den, if you want to call it that. So we call it. It's just a term for the big mound. And then on each side of the culvert, once we got it in place, we did concrete piles, and we punched little tiny holes in the bags so these things will set up. And that's kind of our stability. It took us all night to get this far on day one. Again, the culvert is now sitting down in their level. The muck has been removed. We've got 6 bags of concrete on each side, punched little tiny holes on it, watered it up, and that should become like a rock to kind of hold what we're going to put in the middle of it. In the middle of it, we'll start with a sand fill. And once they get the sand fill in, then we'll start regenerating the road. So, when you look at 6 loads, $400 some plus a load of sand, and you got a culvert here, and 24 bags of concrete. Literally, this project is probably about a $3,000 project, but it's well worth it. I think it's going to make our neighbors happy, which is always a blessing. You want to keep them happy. It's going to get us back across the creek on this side, and get things firmed up. The other thing is, you can see here, we've got the skid going down the main path. As we go down this main path, if you go straight ahead, it then turns to the left and goes to the barns. Right. But as we turn to the left, you'll see in previous videos that right where the skid is right now, it was green. And that's because this road had completely greened up with vegetation. And I'm all for that. I don't need to keep everything looking gravelly and perfect. But that road was starting to get weak. We had some mud spots in it and some sinkholes in it, and it was pretty rough. So as you can see, we're taking that gravel and we're going to fix the entire road, not just the piece down here by the culvert, but the entire piece of it. Once we pass the culvert, we don't need to gravel it because it goes into the back. The ATVs, the gators, the stuff like that will do fine. But we do need to get to about this point where the culvert is. So right now there, I'm back blading there with the skid steer. My skid steer was doing the best it could, folks. The 325G has a fuel filter in it. I have not gotten Deere out to get that changed out yet and get some winterization stuff done. So unfortunately, the fuel filter is starting to clog up and give me some trouble. So I wasn't able to run at full speed all the time with that unit. But thankfully, we were able to get my neighbor's. He's got another 325G. We were able to put these 2 units together. So if you notice that the one skid steer is catching up and doing better than the other, it's because of that little issue. But the 2 skid steers worked great in tandem. I think we had about 4 or 5 hours to get this done. And we were able to patch some holes on, like I said, the main strip. We were able to take, 6 loads at 12 yards a load. What the heck is that? That's 50 oh gosh, can't even do math, 72 yards of fill and get it down here and really help out the farm. And you can tell where we laid it because it's so much darker in color, but it'll all fade in, it'll drag in really nicely. As far as smoothing it out, we did the best we could with the skids. We just had about 5 or 6 inches of rain here within days before we did this week, and that made the ground really soft. But that's not a problem. We'll come back over this with the TR3 gravel drag and the arena drag. We'll come back over it then with the Harrow on top of that. And I suspect that this pack, which we left at probably about 4 inches, will probably after winter pack down roughly, I'm guessing, somewhere around 2 inches. As you can see by this shot, the farm is looking good overall. You can see the goat barn there, the dairy goat barn. You can see the couple little sheds, the clubhouse and the leans. You can see the horses out there in the pasture. We had a kind of a tough summer. We had kind of a drought and everything turned very, very brown. But boy, in the last month, the rains have just been coming. So, it's funny how the Lord works to help you when you need it and get things done. So, everybody's thinking it'd take quite a while to get the water back up. 1 month we're plugging away, I think, over 10 inches of rain already. So we're back on it here. The one thing I like about how I put this culvert in versus the other culverts is I like how I put the concrete in ahead of time. Sometimes in the past, I've just done the gravel over the edges of the culvert, and then as things start to wash, I've come back and tried to build the concrete stops. So I'm real happy this time they're in place before then. I love that the culvert was a good fit. We did our job there in measuring it up. If you're wondering where we get our culverts from, we get them from True Steel Culvert Company. I think it's based in, I think it's got an office in Minneapolis, one in St. Cloud, and one in North Dakota. So a couple in Minnesota and one in North Dakota. And I think my culvert here came out of Fargo, North Dakota. So they were able to get it to us within a couple days. A 14-inch 14 foot long, 24-inch wide culvert spiral like this, delivered to the farm. You're looking at, $900 to almost $1,000 to get it out to your place. So, it costs a little bit of money, but a nice big culvert like that can really help. I could have gone with more standard 18-inch or 16-inch or 14-inch in that same distance. Don't get me wrong. I could have done that. But the only thing is I've done that in the past, and when you get the spring floods, it's just not quite enough. So I really do like those 24-inch culverts. So here we are again, grabbing from the pile and going in. As you can see, the pile's getting smaller. As we fly by the tree here, you kind of get a nice view there of the front of the goat barn. See a goat out there in the field. And then as we move forward, it's kind of neat. You get to see where the pigs are doing and how the pig pen is. So one thing that, gives us an advantage of the aerial shots is you kind of get that overview of how things are going. Solar's holding up well, needs a trimming in that field. We didn't trim the solar much because we have the bees in there and we really wanted to make use of it. But now we're getting into fall and we're probably going to have to start feeding them here soon in Minnesota. So with that being the case, we'll get that mowed too. But this project had to get in before we got any more rain, and we really just couldn't get it done. And we need to get those piles moved off the front up there. Otherwise, come winter, when we're plowing, those things would be right in the way. Now, when we were spreading this stuff out, we had some potholes in some little areas. So you can see there's times where we just had to stop the skid, take our time and dump it in it. Do a lot of backblading. We're able to go around the south side of that second orchard there and bring the skid in from that way. That helps so the two skids weren't really conflicting with each other and how they worked. One worked kind of the upper part of this. The other one, which was me driving, I went all the way down to where the culvert is, and I just kept dumping over the top and packing and dumping and packing and dumping and packing. So as you can see here, right there, I'm crossing over that culvert, and it's just doing great. This is about as far as I'm going to go with the gravel to this point. And in about a year, believe me, folks, you won't even know this is graveled. The green grass will have grown back over the top of all this, and those weeds will have moved back in, and we'll just be driving on that. Now, you'll know there's a road there, don't get me wrong. We'll keep it mowed and down. But it's amazing how the earth with the weeds and the vegetation take back over on the gravel. And it's actually kind of a good thing, because as that vegetation grows back over this gravel, it really locks it in so it doesn't wash during the rains. And that way, if we ever get one of those, monstrous springs where the gravel gets covered with water, it holds. This is where the piles were. Isn't that impressive? 2 skids, 4 or 5 hours of work, pound it out, smooth it all out, drag it at the end, driveway's all back to normal. Folks, it's been a fun project, a little bumpy here and there on the trails trying to get it done, but the new culvert is in. It's kind of a parting shot of how it ended here. Appreciate you watching and liking. We pushed the skids today. We worked with the excavator a little bit. And yeah, we spent some $3,000+ and got it fixed. That's the way to do it here on the farm, folks. Take care.